Welcome back to CryptosRus. I am George, or all George. So good morning. Welcome to another market open stream. Things are looking exciting. Once again, the U.S. market looks like it wants to open green. And Bitcoin is above 28,000. But today, of course, I want to talk about what's going on with the banks, why it's very bullish for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin broke something today. And it's not what you think. It's very, very bullish. So let's talk about all these things and more. And there you go. That's the market bell, the best bell in the industry. Welcome, 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 guys. Good morning. Take a look. We did open, actually. Really in the green. Really in the green. And why are we in the green? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, you have our Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, basically saying, don't worry, guys. The Fed, the FDIC, me, and the government, we will bail out everyone, okay? Right? That's what people care about. Bailouts, and more of them that are coming. So I don't know if this is the exact reason why, but I do think this has a lot to do with it because today, well, actually, I meant to show this. Today, all the banks that were struggling yesterday are now popping up. First Republic, New York Bancorp, regional banks like PacWest, Fifth Third, Key Corp, all these banks that were being sold off yesterday and last week, somehow they're all popping today. Probably due to this, right? But here's the thing. Just a week ago, Janet Yellen was saying, oh, no, we're not going to bail out anyone, especially Silicon Valley Bank. No. We're not in the business of bailing anyone out. And yet today, a week later, yeah, don't worry. The government will bail out everyone. So which one is it going to be? I think we know already. I think we know. They will bail out everyone because all these banks are seen as too big to fail. And if they fail, the contagion is going to spread and the rest, right? It's not a good situation. So that is what's happening today. This rally that we're seeing right now could be short-lived. Right now, there's a lot of enthusiasm and people are thinking, okay, all is well, but it's not really all is well, okay? Of course, tomorrow we have this big FOMC meeting that is coming up. Now, it's getting more and more like that 25 basis points is going to happen. Now it's 82%. Only 18% zero. I don't know why people have changed their tune. Probably because they're thinking, well, all the banks are going to get bailed out, so don't worry, they're not going to go under anymore, right? So that means the Fed could continue to be hawkish. I think that's what people are thinking. They're putting two and two together like, okay, they're all going to be saved. So Powell could still be as aggressive as possible. I don't know if that is logical because we got here because of the very, 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 very fast rate hikes that we have seen in 2022 and so far in 2023. So I don't know. And inflation is still going down. So at least temporarily, at least short term. Long term, all these bailouts and printing is not going to help. But short term is still coming down. So does he really still need to be hawkish? I say he needs to be cautious, not hawkish, cautious. But we will see tomorrow. We only have to wait one more day, right? The press conference is tomorrow. And, this basically sums up. This basically sums up what Powell is going to be going through within the next 24 hours. Him and his board of governors, they will convene and decide which button to press. Now, Elon and others have already chimed in. Elon thinks that they need to cut 50 basis points. But I also saw this reply that, the FDIC is thinking about increasing the insurance of the depositors from $250,000 to something higher. And I've speculated this too, maybe go up to $500,000 or $1 million, right? That's kind of the way you stop the bank runs from happening. And Elon agrees, and Peter Schiff says that, you know what, the U.S. banking system is currently insolvent thanks to the Fed and FDIC. Banks were much sounder under a gold standard, and prior to the FDIC, 18 trillion deposits insured by 100 billion in treasuries. The value of all the bank deposits will soon be destroyed by inflation. You know what? If Peter wasn't so against Bitcoin, he would actually be a really good guy to listen to. He's very intelligent, very aware of what's going on with our banking system, with the whole financial system, right? Except he only pushes gold and not Bitcoin. But I think that's actually 100% true, right? Again, we'll see what is going to happen. Is FDIC going to raise their raise the insurance limit, and or is Fed Chair Powell going to be hawkish or dovish or cautious? I think he's going to be more cautious than dovish. That's just my opinion. We will see tomorrow. All right, but in the meanwhile, you guys know Bitcoin is seen as a safe haven right now, at least for some, not for everyone, but there are some. And whenever you turn on CNBC, like half the time they're talking about Bitcoin, and half the time they're interviewing people about why Bitcoin is stronger, why it's a safe haven, right? And you still have people interviewing like Jack Muller of Strike because they just have no clue, right? But Bitcoin is in mainstream media right now, okay? And it should be, because it's pretty obvious. Bitcoin started really accelerating. We were still stuck around 24,000, right? Remember, that was only like 2 weeks ago. Then all the banking stuff happened, and Bitcoin got a shot of momentum, and now we're rallying up big time, right? So there's definitely a correlation, and the correlation is this: Bitcoin is being seen as a safe haven now by many that never saw it as a safe haven, and people are putting their money back in. I mean, it's really that simple. But there's a lot of stuff that supports this. Number one, Bitcoin's performance for this year, it's off the charts right now. I mean, it gets cut off from my camera. That's how good it is compared to everything else out there. And hey, look, Ethereum is up there too, right? So Ethereum and Bitcoin are leading the way, and everyone else is kind of behind or really, really in the negative. So far, year-to-date performance have been absolutely outstanding for Bitcoin. Also, this correlation, man, this is cut off too, but there is a correlation right now with Bitcoin versus gold versus Bitcoin versus NASDAQ, Bitcoin versus S&P, which if this wasn't cut off, it would show that Bitcoin is going upwards and everything else is going downwards. That's basically what it's showing, right? So a lot of goodness right now, a lot of people turning to Bitcoin. And that is why the Fear and Greed Index is now the highest it's been in a very, very long time, 68. Yesterday, we were 66 greed. Last month, we were barely in the greed. Now we're getting to a point where we're starting to get into extreme greed almost. Let's look. This is the highest it's been in 1 year, and the highest it's been since November of 2021. November 2021 is when Bitcoin hit 69,000. That's how greedy people are right now. That's how, I should say, hopeful and excited people are now. I mean, think about it. We haven't seen this level going all the way back since November of 2021. That's awesome. That's awesome. And there's a lot more awesome things. For example, this. You know, I missed this, but this is actually very, very important and also very bullish. This red line right here is the 200 weekly moving average. This is traditionally seen as the ultimate kind of resistance / support for Bitcoin. because it's a weekly moving average, it takes a long time for Bitcoin to either break below or break above, right? It's seen as like the kind of like the ultimate level that so many chartists look at. And you could see in 2018, 2019, this is on the very left side, Bitcoin bounced at it a couple of times. It broke through briefly, very briefly, and then we recovered. But even in 2020, March of 2020, when we had a COVID scare, right? If we didn't have it, Bitcoin would probably be going sideways. But because we did have a COVID scare, Dow sold off like 3,000 a day. Everything like sold off like crazy. We had a massive dump where Bitcoin fell to 3,800, and it stayed there for a couple of weeks before coming back up, right? This time around, very different. We went through the very first recession. Bitcoin has never, ever been through a recession. And plus, we had a whole bunch of failures. FTX failure, Luna failure, Celsius failure, Voyager failure. We had contagion like we have never, ever seen before. So despite all of that, right, Bitcoin is now above that 200 weekly moving average once again. We did dip below. We stayed there for a very long time. And the naysayers were all coming out of the woods saying that, okay, look, Bitcoin is below. We're about to fall to zero. Everything is over. But no, that's how strong Bitcoin is. And we recently tested it a couple times. We couldn't break it. And this time we broke through. That is very, very bullish. So if we're following what has happened before, some of these previous bottoms, that means we're about to rally and rally hard. Okay, so that's why this is so important and so bullish. So I wanted to show that. And also there's a lot of other very bullish things. I mean, there's a lot of crossovers, a lot of macro view of Bitcoin. And right now is perfect time to be loading up, DCAing, and stocking up because we have just hit a buy signal, at least according to this indicator. But I did show you guys last night. Had you been DCAing every single day the same amount since the 69,000 top, you would already be in the green. So think about that. Say you started with $100 or $10 or $1 from 69,000, the peak, and you bought the same amount and DCA'd every single day. As of like a week ago, you would be in the green already. That's how amazing DCA is, right? So you don't even have to guess. You don't even have to time the market. DCA is the way. But if you are trying to time the market, these kind of things, these kind of charts are absolutely crucial, and they're all flashing green buy right now. Here's another one showing the RSI of Bitcoin and comparing it to previous low points and previous times when you should be buying, and right now is flashing one of those once again. It's very obvious. When you zoom out, it's pretty obvious. When you're living in the moment, it's not that obvious, and it could be boring, and it could be scary because you have a lot of volatility. But when you zoom out and you have hindsight, well, then you're like, man, why didn't I buy more? Why didn't I go all in? Why didn't I just, buy a little bit more during those times? I could feel it. I know it's low, but my head is telling me I shouldn't because there's still a lot of fear out there. But when you zoom out, it's so obvious. And once we enter 2024, 2025, and all the cycles afterwards, and I show you guys more charts like this, showing how this is the point when Bitcoin started recovering, going up to 150 or 200,000, you're going to think the same way. And I'm going to sit here and say, I told you so. No, I won't. No, I won't be doing that. But, you get my point. You get my point. There are a lot of good things happening. And you know what? There's more. If you're not convinced by charts, right? Are you convinced by fundamentals? Well, look at this. Address is holding at least 0.01 Bitcoin. I mean, just look at this chart. All-time high. You have 11,676,000. Okay? And it just keeps going up. Just keeps going up. So the fundamentals of Bitcoin has never been stronger. even versus 69,000. We didn't have this many addresses, even when Bitcoin has 69,000. And we have more now than ever in Bitcoin's history. Okay, and here's the number of hodled coins out of the circulation, the 19.5 that is circulating right now, right? The amount that haven't moved in 5 years is 7.6, 7.7 million. It's not all-time high, but it's a 5-year high. And eventually this will turn all-time high. But again, you know, these kind of on-chain metrics, part of the fundamentals of Bitcoin that continue to improve despite the fact that we're nowhere close to all-time high yet. All fantastic things. And lastly, take a look. Whale Alert reported $2 billion of USDT minted. You know, that's no small chump change. And why is USDT being minted? It's not like the Federal Reserve, at least hopefully not, fingers crossed. But it's not like they just minted out of thin air to bail out any banks. It's because you have giant whales or companies or institutions that are about to enter the space. They have put $2 billion in cash. They have gotten $2 billion of USDT, and they are about to deploy it. Or maybe they have already. Who knows? But there are definitely big money flowing back into the space, not just for Bitcoin, but for the entire space. So get ready. Get ready. All right. Let's see. The U.S. market is still looking good today. It could be a fake rally because today is led by banks. And we know banks are not doing that well, but you know, people are thinking, well, yeah, it's time to get back into banks because you have Secretary Yellen saying, don't worry, the government will bail out everyone. I'm not sure that's the right message. Maybe change that to maybe the banks that deserve to be saved, not every bank, right? But you know, it is what it is. That's why we're in Bitcoin. All right, let's do some Q&A. I see a lot of people talking about XRP settlement. That's why XRP is going up. I don't know if that's been confirmed. I think that's still rumor, but we'll take it. I'll take it. I'm looking for Ripple to win. I've said that. I want Ripple to win because I want Gary Gensler to be slapped in the face and finally see some, I don't know, humble pie, basically. He needs to be humbled, and we need some crypto victories. And if Ripple wins that lawsuit, not only is XRP go pump, the entire industry is going to pump. So looking forward to it, if that's true, but I have not verified that. Arneil is asking about DOT. They've been pretty quiet. You know what? I can't tell you about Polkadot. I don't hear really anything about them. You know, they're trying to get interoperability going. You know, they're trying to, the last I've heard, you know, they have all these side chains, right? So now they're trying to break through that because they have a limit on side chains. I think it's like 125 side chains. Now they're trying to improve so that there's no limit. You could just have side chains. And then, you know, you have a few projects like Moonbeam on top that's giving it EVM compatibility. But outside of those things, I really don't hear much about Polkadot at all. All right, still scrolling. Let's see here. And if XRP loses, well, that would be very bad, really bad indeed, for XRP and for the entire industry. Then we need someone else to fight back and win against Gary Gensler. George, did you know UBS Bank was helping U.S. millionaires launder their money and no one has been arrested? I think that was back in the time. First of all, I didn't know. And second of all, probably, if I had to speculate, that was back in the day when you could still hide all of your money in Switzerland and the IRS and FBI and everyone else couldn't touch it. But then U.S. forced Switzerland banks to comply. I don't know when that happened. I don't know. If I'm speculating, that's what it sounds like, but I don't know the official story. Gary, you think it's worth keeping some physical gold? As much as I'd rather not, but I'm wondering, do we trust the one in pinstripes or the ones in the hoodies? I don't get that second part, but should you keep some physical gold? You got to think, why should you keep some physical gold? What's the reason for it? Can you spend it at a store? No. If we do have apocalypse, okay, let's say we have World War III and all electrical systems and everything, Bitcoin's, network is down, everything is down, fiat, no one cares about paper money anymore. Do you think really people will care about gold at that point? I would argue no. People will care about guns and ammo and water and food more. So even then, I don't see gold being good to hold. I can't logically fathom a situation where holding gold is more advantageous than holding Bitcoin. That's the honest truth. If you guys can come up with something better, then you tell me. And I'm saying that as a medium exchange, as a store of value, not as something to create jewelry with, okay? That, obviously, gold has a use case. There's electronics that use gold. I get those things, okay? But as an investment, as a store of value, as a medium exchange, I don't see any scenario where gold is better than Bitcoin. Crypto Womble, I talked about last night. In fact, it actually caused Immutable X to dump. A lot of people saw it as a bad relationship. I think it's good, especially for Polygon, but yes, I did talk about it. I did see BitTensor. No, I didn't fall in love with it. Honestly, a lot of these smaller projects, they all do the same thing. All these new L1s, L2s, they're all very fast, very secure, they're all trying to get into DeFi. They can use Nakamoto's, consensus and scale it in some new way. I mean, I've seen and heard it all, okay? But doesn't mean that they will become the next Ethereum, for example, okay? There's just a lot to it before a project can get big. Now, you could argue in a bull run, everyone gets big, right? And that's somewhat true, but still. A lot of these projects need more to stand out because there's so many chains that are very similar that does basically the same things. And I did take a look at BitTensor, and it didn't really scream wow. XRP and XRM are increasing due to ISO 20022. Have you heard of it? I have looked at it. It's a standard by banks. Why would you want crypto to support standards of banks? I think it's nonsense. Okay, so that's why. And it's not XRM, it's XLM. That's why I don't pay any attention to it. Why would you want to support a standard by the banks? You don't. You don't. So that's why I've always thought that it's irrelevant. Nervos getting good volume lately. Thoughts? No thoughts on Nervos. Not into that project. I like the fact that they have some sort of a relationship with Cardano, but I have not heard that much from that at all. At first, it was, rumored that they were going to really help Cardano bring interoperability or help Cardano achieve interoperability. But since then, Nervos really started contracting EVM, and I have not heard anything else about them. So, again, there's like so many chains that's trying to convert to EVM compatibility. They're one of them. It's gonna be hard to stand out. Corey, appreciate it. Ooh, Janet Yellen is speaking live to a banking conference. I'm gonna tune into that. We're so close. Bitcoin just looks like itching to break out, to break into the 29 and 30,000, at least break above here. Just need a little bit of a push. We're right there. Ethereum is on fire today. Is it really? It's up 3%. Ethereum above 18. I think today the biggest pump has to be XRP. Let's see. George, tomorrow will be magical for crypto. There's no way it will increase. When you say it, you're talking about the Fed fund rate, I'm assuming. There is a way that it can increase. In fact, 82% think it will by 25 basis points. Here's the thing. If it increases by 25 basis points, it's not going to do anything. The markets will continue forward. In fact, it still might rally because it's 25 basis points instead of 50. It was locked in at 50. So now the fact that it's kind of locked at 25 is great. But I think that's already priced in. I think if it comes out to be 0, then it would be fantastic. And I think there's a really, really good chance for it. Do you think it's risky buying Arbitrum day one? Yes, extremely. Most likely it's going to dump day one and then find a bottom and recover up. A lot of people will be receiving their Arbitrum token and they will probably sell it. So I think it's really, really risky to buy day one. I would say if you want to buy it, wait until it bottoms out, then get in. Don Thompson, 73-year-old. Wow. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're still learning about Bitcoin. So, fantastic. Armin says, very short-sighted on gold. Well, tell me. Tell me why it's very short-sighted. I have not heard any good arguments about holding on gold and why it's still advantageous going forward in this modern age. As investment, as a medium exchange, as a store of value. Not as something that someone said, used in dentistry. Not as something that's used in whatever, jewelry, which will always be around. I know that. But gold doesn't have a set supply. It's highly manipulated by the miners, by Wall Street. There's a lot of paper gold that also manipulates the price. That's why gold has not moved in 10 years. Gold is still the same as 10 years ago, its price. That means it has not hedged against inflation. That means actually it devalued itself, just like fiat, in the same manner that fiat has devalued itself. So tell me why gold is better to hold than Bitcoin long term. Barry Silbert tweeted that the Foundries mining and third largest BitTensor holder. First of all, Barry Silbert is not someone that I don't know how to frankly put it, but him being a large investor doesn't really say much. Just like he is a large investor in Ethereum Classic. Okay, that project is going nowhere. Okay, and BitTensor is all these fanatical things that, oh, it's the next Bitcoin, it's the better Bitcoin, it uses Satoshi's Nakamoto consensus and it could scale and it's Bitcoin 2.0. No, it's not. Nothing is Bitcoin 2.0. It's another L1. BitTensor doesn't do anything that Kadena doesn't do. Kadena uses the Nakamoto consensus and could scale infinitely too. Right? So, and Barry Silbert is not like someone that is a big endorsement, I would say. Not anymore. Not after Genesis has fallen to zero. And now there's iffiness about DCG and Grayscale. So, that's not a good argument. It's Silbert. Every time I see his name, I know it's Silver, but I can't help but say Silbert. It's just too natural. Comes off the tongue that way. Anyways, George, if over time more alt projects are released, will this have effect on gains due to diversification of people's choice, even with increased adoption? Sure, a little bit, yeah. But just because you increase a whole bunch of bad projects doesn't mean that people will flock equally to all these new projects. No. Some, yes. The degens especially, the ones that are always looking for new microcaps and falling for the new hype coin. Sure, some of it, but majority of people will still stay with the well-known projects. And, of course, with Bitcoin. Mike says, if I was a billionaire, I would own Bitcoin, gold, silver, and real estate as my top holdings. If I was a billionaire, I would hold Bitcoin and real estate. That's it. I still would hold 0 gold and 0 silver because I still think both. There's no compelling reason to hold both over Bitcoin. Now, real estate is different. I would argue, yes, if you have more money than more money than you know what to do with, then you go into real estate. Why not? There's a limited amount of land, right? There's scarcity there. People always need to live somewhere. So I get real estate, but it's a very slow moving process. to get wealthy from real estate takes a very, very long time unless you got in early. But yeah, it's somewhere where you could park your money and basically collect, rent or interest from it. But for gold and silver, I just don't see it. I love for someone to tell me why, without saying, oh yeah, Bitcoin could go to zero. Oh yeah, all the governments will ban Bitcoin, right? That's the only thing I ever hear from the gold bugs. They can't make a point for gold, so they have to attack Bitcoin, right? But they can't make a case for gold anymore because you can't. There's just been nothing that gold has done that has made it better than Bitcoin in the last 5,000 years. There's been nothing. There's no innovation. Yeah. So I love to see someone change my mind on that. TA, appreciate that. All right, last two. Crypto will have to be backed by something physical after fiat is dead, or it will only be used by force. Zong, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Crypto never has to be backed by anything. You could just use it. If you're thinking that everything is store value, no, they are not all. I mean, stable coins, you could have new version of stable coins. Of course, there's CBDCs. These are digital currencies. You don't necessarily, people don't hold them as store values. I think what you're trying to say is because everything is store value, no one's going to use them, right? But not everything is store value. Are you talking about gold or Joe Biden? Right. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. All right, guys. You know what's better than BTC gold or real estate and everything? It's full faith and backing in a non-corrupt government, which we don't have at present. Gary, that's never going to change. That's never going to change. I was having a conversation with my neighbor yesterday. Him and I disagree vastly on how the financial system and how the government should work. He is older, and to be quite frank, he's a socialist. So he argues that the government should support everything. There should be no limits, upper limits. Who cares about the debt ceiling? Just remove it and just hand out as much money as you want. And I 100% disagree with that, but I don't think I'm ever going to change his mind. But here's the thing. I told him, frankly, it doesn't matter what our views are, right? You could debate, and he always likes to bring, politics into it. Oh, it's Biden's fault or it's Trump's fault or whatever's fault. And I'm like, these rules and regulations and these debates could go on forever. But what we really need to worry about is how do we safeguard our own money, right? That's number one. So you could have all these debates all day long. But how do we safeguard our money, and how do we make sure that inflation doesn't rob us of our buying power? Those are the two things that ultimately you need to care about. It doesn't matter what your political views are and how much you like the government or dislike the government, how much you like Yellen to say that the government's go bail out all the banks, right? We know it's horrible. At least some of us think it's horrible. But still, how are you going to protect your money? How are you going to make sure inflation is not going to eat away at it, right? That's the ultimate thing that's important. So, and to me, there's just no better way to hedge against inflation or to build wealth or attain financial freedom than through Bitcoin and crypto. Nothing on the planet allows you to achieve these things in a I don't know, in a more efficient or time effective way. I don't know if those are the right terms for it, but yeah, that's my thought overall. What's your opinion on why South America is adopting crypto faster than everywhere else in the world, including Asia? I'm not 100% that's true. I'm not sure that's 100% true, but it's probably because most of them do not have a bank account. A lot of people, a lot of citizens don't have bank accounts, and they suffer from hyperinflation. Those are two main drivers. Gold and silver continue to be a store value for the next decade. A mix of gold and crypto is smarter than 100% crypto. I'm going to disagree. That, again, that is not an argument. You're just speculating, right? But make the argument why. Why, for the next 10 years, it's good to have gold and silver. Bitcoin, even though it has up and downs, you could argue, oh, it's too volatile, right? But every single low it makes, it's higher than the previous low. And even after making its lows, it still has greater gains than gold and silver. So you tell me why the next decade anyone should hold gold and silver. I like to hear why. And don't say, oh, just because it's going to be safer. Tell me the reason why. Diamonds are the worst store values. Diamonds is artificially inflated by De Beers, who owns all the diamond mines. Okay? It's like one of the biggest monopolies we have on Earth that no one does anything about, and that's why diamonds are as expensive as they are. Otherwise, they would be worth nothing. It's highly controlled and manipulated. So people that are saying, oh, diamonds are a great store value, I mean, it's probably the worst store value if you think about it. Yeah, let's just keep it at that. All right. Will alts go to zero if a recession comes? I don't know, Best Connect, if you've been paying attention. We're in a recession right now. Didn't China just find trillions of dollars worth of gold deposits? I think they did in Africa, Uganda. It basically will double the world's gold supply. That's how much gold they found. T-Lock says 0% of people in this chat will be gold millionaires, but at least 2% will be in crypto. I mean, that's a solid argument. But I would say more people in this chat will become millionaires, probably more than 2%, maybe even 10%. But there will be a lot more crypto millionaires than gold millionaires. Okay, that's for sure. In the next 10 years, I would argue anyone in this chat right now buying as much gold as they can over the next 10 years, DCAing into gold, and in 10 years' time, you will see your earnings be at zero. Just like had you bought gold 10 years ago and been DCAing until now, it has gone up 0%. You could have bought bonds. You could have bought U.S. Treasury bonds that paid 2 or 3% 10 years ago and made more than holding gold. And it will be the same way in the next 10 years. Please bless us with the XRP video. It's booming. Well, today is one of those days I think is deserving of the most educational Ripple/XRP video ever created by mankind. Maybe aliens have created better videos, but not by any man. This is the best video, and it will get you guys riled up and to put all your money into XRP, so I may have to show that today. But anyways, to wrap up, you know what? Market is rallying. I don't think for good reasons, but we'll see tomorrow what Powell does. Is he going to be hawkish or dovish? But regardless, Bitcoin is doing its thing. It's climbing up, and there's a lot of good reasons to be in Bitcoin right now. Okay? Smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, and it's time for the most educational video ever created by mankind. Enjoy.
What do you think about Ripple?
Well, I mean, I think it's too centralized, but I definitely want to meet Chris Larson.